Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. And we got an epic Wednesday night show for you. Of course, we got the news. We're going to do the Discord question of the week, as well as get into some ghost encounters by nurses in hospitals. So I got a lot of stuff to get to tonight. We'll do some creature reports too, but buckle up. It's about to get spooky. Sorry, frog. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm back. I had to run and get an allergy med quick. I did more of a longer intro than I intended, but it's because all of a sudden it was like, boom, I was sneezing and coughing. So had to run quick, but I'm back. Thank you for being patient as we launch tonight's episode of the Paranormal Portal. And again, we got a lot of stuff to get to. Hope you're ready to be wildly entertained because you just might be in the right place. No guarantees, of course, but we are always not practiced and unrehearsed, as it were. So you kind of get what you get, but hopefully it's good. I'm not alone here tonight. I've got all of you, of course, which is the number one important thing. But the number two important thing joining me is the big branch himself, Mr. Sheldon Thomas, in another one of his very weird manifestations. So welcome to the show, Sheldon.
Welcome indeed. I'm your co-host, your fellow dogman, here to bring all the wonderful news and stories to you as well.
I see you taking the No Shave November kind of literally, huh? Yeah, you know, a little pity. All right, thanks. I'll take it. I'll take the pity laugh or the sympathy laugh or whatever the hell it was. But you doing good?
I'm doing great. Feeling great. Doing great. Gonna do great. We're gonna do great. That's our night.
All right. Well, we'll do our best. We'll do our best to do great. But welcome to the modern days where you can actually have a show co-hosted by a dogman or werewolf or whatever you want to call it. All right. Heal, Sheldon. I guess before we go any further, I just want to thank you all for being here and being a part of it. If you didn't know, I was on Bigfoot Odyssey earlier tonight with Daniela, and we had a great discussion with a lady named PJ. I think her name was PJ. I'm terrible with names, but she had some pretty wild Bigfoot encounters on her property. And so if you didn't see that episode, check it out when you can. Not now, of course, because you're here, and I'd love for you to stay here. But check out the Bigfoot Odyssey channel as well. That would be wonderful. The shows continue, and it was a lot of fun. Had a great time, and so thank you again to Daniela to bringing me on. That was a lot of just really cool. I like it. I like being a guest on shows because it's actually a lot easier. I don't have to do much except try to be a part of the conversation, which for me is pretty easy because I love all this stuff. So. But again, that was Bigfoot Odyssey on YouTube. Check it out. And definitely, if you're not already subscribed over there, get subscribed. And if you're not subscribed here, get subscribed. We'd love to have you become a part of the family. But we got a lot of things to get to. We're going to get to the news shortly here. And we're also going to get to the Discord question of the week for tonight's show, as well as some haunted hospital stories from nurses. So, I love those stories because, of course, any place that is psychically charged, I think, is a hotbed for paranormal activity. I mean, there's abandoned prisons that are absolutely hopping. There's abandoned asylums, and of course, even operating asylums and prisons can be hotbeds. But hospitals are one of those places too. And if you think about it, it makes sense. Lots of things happen in hospitals, both good and bad. And so there's lots of different energies being imprinted upon the building itself and the land surrounding it. So it's not surprising that nurses see and experience a hell of a lot. And doctors too, I imagine. But we'll get into that in a little bit. And then we got some more stuff to get to after that. So there's lots on deck tonight for the show. And we'll discuss all that in a little bit. But first, I guess we should get to the news. Sheldon, what do you think?
Absolutely.
All right, let's jump into the news. See what I did there?
You're so funny. Oh my God, you're so funny.
Oh, go get your bone.
I'm going to switch this up. That's fine.
Lay by your dish and shut up.
Oh my God.
Go lay down. Sorry, it's just the low-hanging fruit. All right, we're going to go to the news, folks. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the news desk of the Paranormal Portal as we dive into all the strange, wonderful weirdness that we like to cover here on the news. So I hope you guys are ready because I got a few of them ready for you. Some weird, some wonderful, and some just plain bizarre. So the first one, what? Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah.
Glad you approve. We've got the Sheldon approval. All right, let's get to the first article up on the News Fest for tonight. And this, of course, comes from unexplained-mysteries.com. Ladies and gentlemen, please support their site. Wonderful site. I just love it. I never get tired of it. But, please support what they're doing over there because it's just incredible. They do an amazing job, especially this TK Randall. He's like every article is his. So this is a person that is obviously extraordinarily busy but does a hell of a job. So, again, unexplained-mysteries.com. First one up for bat tonight is priceless painting found to have been hanging upside down for 75 years. How would you know? Just look at that image. What would you know? It says the blunder, which had remained undiscovered until very recently, may never have been rectified due to the painting's fragile state. Known as New York City, the striking artwork, which consists of multiple crisscrossing colored lines, was painted by Dutch abstract artist Piet Mondrian back in 1941. It originally went on display in New York's Museum of Modern Art in 1945 before later becoming part of the art collection of the German state of North Rhine-Westphalia in Dusseldorf in 1980. Despite countless art historians and other experts viewing the piece over the last 75 years, only one managed to notice the fact that the painting had been hanging on the wall upside down. Museum curator Suzanne Meyer-Busser discovered the mistake after analyzing the painting for a new art show. She realized that the lines at the bottom were thicker than those on top, whereas the artist would have intended for it to be the opposite way around. So it was due to the thickness. The thickening of the grid should be on top, like a dark sky, she said. Once I pointed it out to other curators, we realized it was very obvious, and I'm 100% certain the picture is the wrong way around. As it stands, however, it's unlikely the error will ever be rectified because the painting is now so fragile that turning it the right way up could cause irreparable damage to it. The adhesive tapes are already extremely loose and hanging by a thread, Meyer-Busser told The Guardian. If we were to turn it upside down now, gravity would pull it into another direction. Yeah, usually down. And it's now the part of the work's story. Okay. Well, there you go. That's apparently what it looks like. Somebody got paid money for that.
I know.
That looks like bad wallpaper, doesn't it? Like
I was thinking the
70s.
same thing. Artwork like this, I don't get. I really don't. And maybe it's just because I'm uneducated on art and art styles, but I don't see that and be like, oh my God, I need to pay $20,000 for that.
Yeah, I don't think I would give more than $1.50 for it personally, but yeah, I mean, for some people that's, oh, look at that. That's so intense. I can see what the artist was trying to capture. It's like, what? What exactly was that? Because I don't see anything except for some straight lines crisscrossing.
Like a colorful jail cell.
Yeah, well, there you go. Now I'll never look at it the same way. Thank you. All right, there you have it. Colorful jail cell that's hanging upside down, as it were. All right, back to the news desk here as we dive into the second story of the night. And this is also coming from unexplained-mysteries.com. And this story is hopefully a goodie. I got to close an ad that popped up. Here it is. Family unearths creepy photograph under their floorboards of their home. This is creepy. From November 2nd, brand new story. In 2022... the image, which appears to date around back to the 1960s, seems to show a ghostly extra hovering in the background. Yeah, it does, actually. That's a little disturbing. Hey, unless he's very pale and just didn't have a lot of lighting. But anyway, it doesn't look good. When Beverly Edmondson Cropper, her partner, and her son peered beneath the floorboards during a renovation work of their home in Lancashire recently, the last thing they expected to find was a photograph left behind by the previous occupants of the house. When they looked closer, however, it was evident that there was something off about it. The image, which shows a family standing in front of a Gothic archway of a church entrance, also shows a strange, distorted, and semi-transparent figure standing in the background. They were so spooked by the discovery, in fact, that they decided to put it back where they found it. There looks to be like a monk in the doorway of the photo. It's all a bit creepy, Beverly told Lanks Live. No one claimed the photo, so my son reburied it under the floorboards. Him and his dad had just moved in. They're now doing the property up, so we don't know the previous owners. While many social media users suggested that the figure in the background could be a ghost, others were more skeptical, instead maintaining that it was more likely to be a photographic double exposure. If this were true, however, why would the previous owners have sealed it up under the floorboards? Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's not the kind of thing. It's just a double exposure. It's innocent. Or it's a ghost, and it's kind of creepy. Even though I think it's a phenomenal picture, they should just send it to some group to investigate it. If this were true, sadly, unless the family of the house's former occupants come forward, we will likely never know for sure who is in the picture or why the photo was left there. Yeah, I wonder how the activity in the house is now they're digging up the floorboards. That's when you find out. You want to know if you're haunted? Do some renovation. You'll find out.
Yeah, that's right. That's
That's when
true.
that, and I don't know why that is, but I suspect it's because maybe those energies just lie dormant. And once you start upheaving the house and changing the house, maybe it does something to release those old pent up energies or dormant energies and reactivate them somehow. But it is curious. Wow. Wonder if they got activity after all that renovation.
It's a good question, actually. There's
Yeah,
a follow up.
right. I mean, they already obviously got ghosts and pictures, so uh, I don't know. I don't know what's going on here, but curious story.
Rachel
Well,
gets it right. Says maybe the photo was an A-port and a spirit put it there.
ooh, maybe. It's my last photo, man. Could be. I mean, D-ports. It's an A-port when it was found. I don't know if it was deported from someone else and A-ported there. Yeah, that's creepy. I don't know what the story is there. Very curious, but let's get to the next one on the news festival for the evening. And this one is also coming from unexplained-mysteries.com. Remember, if any of you have stories you'd like to have me cover on the news, by all means, send them in to me. Paranormalportalradio@gmail.com is the email address. Love to hear from you. This one is more, God, let me look. How long is this one? No, this one's fine, but this one's a little on the creepy side, folks. We all know that historically there were very specific burial rituals observed when the village people feared someone was a vampire. Well, now what they've done is they've dug up a grave and apparently used forensic software to reconstitute what the figure looked like before it was just a skeleton. Scientists recreate the face of a real-life 18th century vampire. Kind of a handsome guy, really. Right? Are you seeing it?
Yeah. Now I'm seeing it. Yeah.
Wow.
Not bad looking.
Not bad looking. I don't see any fangs or anything, though, so it looks like... I don't know when those come in. Maybe that's just temporary. This is the face of a man who 2 centuries ago was buried with his leg bones crossed to stop him from raising from the dead. He was certainly no Count Dracula, and most likely had absolutely no interest at all in drinking human blood, but this unfortunate individual certainly stoked a great deal of fear among the local populace back in the 1700s. More than 200 years after his death, his remains were found buried in Griswold, Connecticut, with his femur bones arranged in a particular crisscross pattern. There was evidence, in fact, to suggest that he had been dug up and reburied, which was often the case in those old vampire tales. I mean, everybody would have a normal burial, but then if people started having issues or problems or weird illnesses appear, then they would look for, well, who did we just bury? It must be a vampire. So it was more not based on the vampiric legends that most of us are familiar with the blood sucking and stuff. In fact, most vampiric tales were believed to be demonic entities reanimating corpses and making them run around. So they would try to trap them in their graves so that couldn't happen. But yeah, it's really creepy. So the remains were found with the femur bones removed and crossed over the chest. Scientist Ellen Graytack told Live Science, this way suspected vampires wouldn't be able to walk around and attack the living. Far from being a vampire, however, this poor gentleman had actually been suffering from tuberculosis, an ailment that often led to unfounded accusations of vampirism from superstitious locals. Oh, so maybe he was coughing up blood, and they're like, oh, he's eating blood. Now scientists at Virginia's Parabon Nanolabs in the Armed Forces DNA Identification Laboratory have joined forces to use his DNA to reconstruct what he looked like when he was alive. That's even more interesting because they're doing that based on DNA. They can tell what we look like looking at our DNA? Wow. That's... I was figuring they looked at the skull and just reconstituted, bridged, made fleshy, distributions and figured it out that way. But thought to be around 55 years old when he died, he likely had fair skin, brown eyes, brown or black hair. The image is a fascinating look back in time when a fear of vampires was a very real thing indeed, and people were willing to commit unspeakable acts to protect themselves from them. Exactly how the situation might have played out for this man at the time, we will likely never know for sure, but there you go. That's what he looked like in life, apparently, according to his DNA. That's what he looks like now. So it's a hell of a
Before,
jaw, though, isn't it?
after.
Yeah. Yeah. Before, after, or before, after. Either way. So,
Oh, he does have that kind of face that I would expect to be a vampire in a movie, though.
I
So,
become
I mean,
the
I can't
drink.
blame it.
I wonder if he talked like, I want to suck your blood. You know,
Yeah.
heavy Transylvanian accent. Maybe so. But whatever the case, there's a vampire for you folks, just in time for after Halloween. Here's another one having to do with the UFO reports from our U.S. government here. And apparently, what they're saying is the new Congress UFO report, 50% of cases remain unexplained. That's, I guess, a lot, really, right?
That's a good amount, I think.
That's pretty robust amount of reports that they can't solve. A report to be delivered to Congress this week allegedly states that only half the cases can be satisfactorily explained. Now, I want to hear what those explanations are, though, too.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if some, I don't know, where did these reports come from? Are they just general public reports, or are they reports from the military, or what? The 22-page report has been compiled by the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, details 366 UFO incidents, a sizable increase from the 144 mentioned in the preliminary assessment document published by the office last year. What's particularly interesting about the new report is that only around half of the cases can be explained, while the others, which have been glossed over, remain something of a mystery. These unexplained cases include instances of mysterious objects, some have described as orbs, being picked up, moving erratically by Reaper drones, conducting surveillance in the Middle East. Others are similar to those described in reports by the U.S. Navy pilots who observed tic-tac-shaped objects off the coast of the United States, again moving at incredible speeds and performing seemingly impossible maneuvers. Some of the sightings have been attributed to brand new surveillance by foreign adversaries, suggesting that China, for example, may possess some pretty sophisticated technology. Others, meanwhile, seem to defy any explanation at all. They're patting themselves on the back that they've resolved over half of them, an ODNI source told Mail Online, but we don't give a crap about the ones they've resolved. Yeah, there's balloons up there, and balloons are sometimes mistaken for UAP, but there's a lot of classified videos that are pretty profound and pretty clear. They don't want to talk about this stuff because they really don't know what the hell they are. That's the truth. Ooh, pretty spicy. Someone's speaking their mind, Sheldon.
I like that.
Yeah, I do too. It's like, yeah, don't tell us about the ones you've explained. Okay, whatever. Even if you didn't really explain it, but just want us to feel better, tell us about the ones you can't. What are the ones you can't explain? And where's the footage of those, or where's the material that demonstrates those weird things going on? That's what I don't like, Sheldon. I don't like these.
Plus, some of them may never be solved per se because they were just eyewitness accounts, no evidence, no nothing. So it's possible some of them won't ever be solved because you had to be there to see it.
True. Yeah, that's true. All right. Well, let's see what's next up here, Dogman Sheldon.
I'm changing it.
Are you really? Oh, I like Dogman Sheldon. All right. Next up, this is a weird one. I hadn't really heard the conspiracy, but let's check it out. This is from unexplained-mysteries.com. And this weird Avril Lavigne conspiracy just refuses to go away. I didn't know she had a conspiracy, but let's see what it says. A bizarre conspiracy concerning Canadian singer-songwriter Avril Lavigne has been doing the rounds for years. Halloween is just another corner around the corner. Well, it's actually, we went around that corner already. And according to the social media site Pinterest, one of the top costume ideas for 2022 is Avril Lavigne, the Canadian singer-songwriter. How long is this? Oh, dear God. Okay, well, there's some kind of controversy around Avril Lavigne. I'll put a link in there. I didn't look at this one because I thought,
I see what you mean. That's a long one. Okay.
It's a really long one. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not that interested in whatever conspiracy is going on with Avril Lavigne, but I'll put a link in the chat for those of you that are. Whatever it is, it's not going away. And I'm sorry to hear that, Avril. I hope everything's good. All right. Getting to the next story on our news festival of fun. is.
Oh, Maggie says they say she was cloned
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Well, I guess there's worse things to clone.
or replaced. I
Yeah.
guess.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know anything about stuff like that, so I guess it's better to leave it where it is. All right, unexplained-mysteries.com reports from the world of bizarre. Cyclist encounters the Arnold Schwarzenegger of mountain goats. Look at that thing. Oh my God, that's huge.
One moment. One moment. Catching up. Oh my God.
That's
It's
enormous.
huge.
Yeah, right?
Oh.
Oof is right. The recent viral video shows a cyclist approaching what has been described as a mountain goat on steroids. Over the years, there have been several cases of encounters between cyclists and wild animals in some of the more remote regions of the world, and this latest example is perhaps one of the wildest yet. The footage, which was filmed against the backdrop of some very picturesque mountains, shows a hapless cyclist encountering what appears to be a huge mountain goat with bulging muscles. Yeah, that's enormous. While it isn't clear which country this is, the goat is undeniably massive, leading social media users to coin it the Arnold Schwarzenegger of mountain goats. The clip very quickly went viral and has since racked up over 10 million views. Fortunately for the cyclist, the huge goat didn't seem to be particularly interested in his presence, and after checking out his bike for a few seconds, it simply sauntered off in the opposite direction. You can check out the clip for yourself below, and there's a pic on Twitter, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know. We can look at the pic on Twitter, I guess. Let's check that out if it'll work. This page doesn't exist. Okay.
Oh.
Well, whatever it was, it's no
Nice.
longer available. So we can't check it out, but we see the pic here. So that's a big animal. And it looks like those horns are like not really made for it. Like they should be huge.
Yeah.
But whatever case, there it is, folks. A big old thing.
That's what steroids will do.
Yeah, right. Wonder why they're getting the steroids up in the mountains, but I don't know. Maybe they're eating hikers. Who knows?
Hikers with steroids in their
Yeah,
system.
there's steroid hikers up there, and they're having a taste for meat. Maybe that's why I wasn't interested in the biker, because he wasn't roided. I don't know. All right, let's go to this one. This is unexplained-mysteries.com. Mysteries revisited. I don't know how I got revitage out of there. The Josh Highcliffe skunk ape footage. This is right out of the Sasquatch files, and this is actually some of the best, if this is what I think it is. And I was just talking with Danielle about this. Actually, yeah, this is the one. We'll watch it. It is truly very impressive. I think, particularly because, and I'm going to say this before we start reading it, but pay attention to some of the movements of this creature. Pay attention to the sounds that it's making as it peels off this wood. This wood is not punky, rotten wood. This wood snaps like it's incredibly hard. And in one pull, it does it kind of like sideways. Like if you're looking at me, let me just put me on bigger camera here. It does it like this. Like you see the back of the skunk ape. This guy's filming. Apparently he snuck up on it or whatever, but he's filming. This thing reaches into the tree, whatever kind of tree it is, a cypress or something, and it's like looking for grubs or whatever, but it grabs onto the opening and it pulls out like this. And you can just see the force and then the wood giving way. It's like, boom, and it pops. And it's really impressive. People wouldn't pull like that. We just wouldn't have the leverage to do that. We'd have to grab and yank and, do it like that. So I'm really convinced this is some profound footage, but let's read what it says. This footage of an alleged Bigfoot-type creature emerged 8 years ago and has remained a topic of debate ever since. On October 28, 2013, a hunter named Josh Highcliffe uploaded this clip to YouTube channel showing what appeared to be a large bipedal creature covered in dark hair. Reportedly filmed around 9 miles west of Tunica, Mississippi. Oh, I thought it was Florida. Okay, it's Mississippi. At 9 p.m. in the evening, the creature described as a skunk ape can be seen crouched down, digging out a tree stump. After a few seconds, it stands, revealing its true stature before Highcliffe turns and flees. There was this huge black thing crouched by a dead cypress about 50 yards away. I thought it was a hog, but saw these big shoulders and a head upright with hands, he wrote. It looked like it was digging out the stump, and my first instinct was to run. I did not even think of shooting. Then I know no one will believe me. It was like everything slowed down. I was scared. I took out my iPhone, and started videotaping it. I guess I pushed the record button twice because it stopped blinking red, but I pushed it again, and I hear a truck driving down the road, and the thing stood up. I was trying to be dead quiet. When it stood up, I could not control myself and ran. That stump was huge, and I guess this sucker was 7 feet tall. I'm a hunter, and am pretty darn good at guessing size, and that's no bear. While many have dismissed the video as little more than a hoax, others remain unconvinced. Even today, 8 years on, there are still those who remain adamant that the video is genuine. You can check out the original video below. What do you think it shows? Here it is, folks, for your viewing pleasure. Let me do it this way. I'm going to go over to this screen and really make it big for you. But I want you to listen to the sounds of the wood. Looking right in this area here. There it is. Yeah, I think it's here. You can hear the bass on that when it's breaking. Like it might be a dead tree, but it's not rotten. Look at that. It pulled it straight out to the side like that.
Jeez.
Just impressive. I guess this thing was really hungry because it was not paying attention. When it stands up, you really see its stature. And you can hear those thumps when it's breaking apart that wood. Listen to that. Pow. That was with one hand. Just incredible filming. Boom. He's like, nope. But I want you to pay attention to the sound again. No, it's before this. Okay, hold on. Look at that. It's just power. It just leans right into it with one arm and just pops that piece off. That to me is just incredible.
Jeez.
I think this is, I mean, when you hear that wood snapping like that and it did it with one arm, it's like, again, I'm going to go to me. It's just with its back, it's just like and boom, pops that piece of wood off and it snaps. I mean, this is recorded with an iPhone, ladies and gentlemen. And so it still picked up that popping noise that far away. Now, I know iPhones have pretty good microphones, but they're mostly meant for clear, near field audio. They're not meant for distant audio. So the fact that it popped that loud with that much bass that far away, that was a significant piece of wood that it just popped right off of there. I think it was probably digging for grubs in there or whatever, but I find that just fascinating. What do you think of that, Sheldon?
That's pretty incredible footage, to be honest. Usually when you're looking at faked footage, it's just simple stuff like walking,
right,
ducking, standing.
Mm-hmm.
But like to fake something like that would take tremendous effort. I think that's pretty pretty clear footage, in my opinion.
Yeah, I do too. Now, some people have speculated that maybe it's carrying a young one in this footage. And what do I know? I couldn't know from what I'm seeing here, but I've heard that speculated. And then if we go here and just see it rise up, I mean, it's really, this thing is down lower than him. And when it stands up, it's like nearly eye level. Boom. And you can see that's a genuine fear reaction. I mean, his that was complete adrenaline sprint away from there.
Yeah, just instantly sprinting off.
Yeah, as soon as that thing stood up, it was just like, nope. I mean, he just couldn't process anymore. He had a rifle and everything, but it was just like, oh my God, I'm out of here. It's just a really powerful video. Now, can I tell you for sure it's real? No. But I find the body mechanics that it exhibits to be not normal, to pull out off to the side using back and shoulder and your weight to yank something out like that. I don't think that's something a gorilla would do, not a human being. We just don't have the shoulder strength to pull out like that, or to even sustain that leaning against it. Our arms would, fold in with only our upper body would move. But that thing held it firm and then just leaned out and just snapped it. It's just, and then when he throws it, it's just like, it's, I don't know, a 4-foot piece of wood, which in and of itself, it's not like it lobbed it 30 yards or something. It just kind of just discarded, like, no, that's not what I want. And it just keeps digging, and it just keeps popping the wood as it's trying to get deeper in there. So it's the wood sounds and the body mechanics for me that really sell it. Otherwise, it's just this, I don't know, ambiguous humanoid figure. So visually, is it compelling? No, but when you start looking at what it's doing and how it's doing it, it really sells it for me. Those are my 2 cents on it, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on it in the comments or in the chat for those of you that are watching live. I think that's amazing footage. So again,
his fight or flight response, how instantaneous it was. Like, I think something like that's hard to fake. You can't really fake a fight or flight response in the moment like that.
I mean, you can sprint away, but I mean, it's instantly, and he's like, oh, and he's gone. He's moving. And, you can't blame him. I probably wouldn't have lasted that long, but definitely when it stood up and he saw how big that was. Now, we can only guess because it's in a little camera frame, what does that look like in person? But, it's like when I'm driving with Don and we're going to places. There's these beautiful, pristine mountains, and I pull up my phone and I'm trying to capture it, and it's just like, it doesn't do it justice. You can't appreciate how big and amazing those mountains are unless you're standing there in person.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
I'm sure the same thing is true for this video. It's just like, you can't appreciate how big that thing was or how imposing until you're standing there with it. So, things on cell phone cameras tend to look much smaller than they are in real life. So I'm sure that thing was enormous. So very wild. I love that footage. I think it's very powerful, and I think it's legit. I really do. Just my gut feeling on it is that it's the real deal. We're going to go to the last story for the night here. I hope you guys enjoyed that little video interlude of the Sasquatch. Thank you, Josh Highcliffe, for that footage. I think it's amazing. And I think there's more of that stuff out there. It just doesn't make it past everybody's, it's fake factors, I think you got to look at the details of what you're looking at too, not just, does it look real? Well, what the hell, unless you see these things, I don't even know if they look real in person because they're just so different from what we can process normally, but when you look at the body mechanics, when you look at how it's doing what it's doing, and the sheer force and the sound of what it's doing, it's like, man, that's a lot of power.
Yeah, that in itself is intimidating as heck too.
Right. I mean, with one arm, it's pulling off these, snapping off these pieces of wood. I don't know. I don't know if a person could duplicate that even with their full body and both arms.
Yeah.
So anyway, just my take on it. I might be in the minority, but I think it's really fascinating and compelling potential proof. So the last story of the night is coming from unexplained-mysteries.com. It's coming from the archive, but I thought this was kind of an interesting story. And it's from the world of bizarre, and it's the funniest last words in history by T.K. Randall. This is July 3rd, 2011. It says, over the years, several famous figures have been attributed with some rather amusing last words. General John Sedgwick famously scoffed, "They couldn't hit an elephant at this distance" during the Civil War, before being promptly sniped in front of all of his men. Oscar Wilde was dying in a hotel bed in France when he muttered, "My wallpaper and I are fighting a duel to the death. One or the other of us has to go." Stephen Wright once said he wished the first word he spoke was "quote," and then right before he died, he could say "unquote." While that would have been the greatest last word ever uttered, we have to be realistic here and admit no one could be that cool lest the universe implode. Yeah, that's funny. They couldn't hit an elephant at this range, and then he gets blasted. Oh, way to jinx it.
Yeah,
that's unfortunate. But anyway, those are some last words, ladies and gentlemen. And that is going to be the last word of our newscast for the night. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let's get back to the rest of the show. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back at it here on the normal desk of the Paranormal Portal. And MCAT says, the last words, "I'm not sick, really." Who is this? Is it referring to somebody? I got to see where this is. Is it referring to anyone in particular? No, he says, "I'm not sick." And then he says, "I'm not sick, really," and promptly drops dead.
Oh my God.
Yeah, those would be, I guess, maybe when you're dead, you're not sick anymore. But anyway, very cool. Glad to see you all here as we dive into the rest of the show. Sheldon, you want to do shout outs?
Yeah, absolutely. If you guys want to shout out, go ahead and chat in the chat.
Yeah, make sure to make a comment in the chat so you appear on our participants list, because we don't get a list of just everybody watching. We get a list of those people chatting, and we can say, hey, these are the participants. Well, you guys that are watching are participants too, but anyway. Who's here, Sheldon?
All right. So we have Aggravated Progressive, Eric, a.k.a. Purple Hobbit, Ghost Magnet, Consquatch, Lily Pond, MCat, Maggie M10, Nicholas Smith, you're here. Rachel Gets It Right's here, of course. Ruger Ridge, Wonder Woman, Woods and Creek, and Flyer Tuck is here. Hello, everybody. Welcome, and Mere Nuisance.
Mere Nuisance? Why, you're not a nuisance at all, I would say.
I was waiting for it.
Nicholas Smith, how you doing? He says, hey, Brent, good to see you, brother. Thanks for coming in and being a part of the journey tonight. And to all of you guys out there watching and listening and participating in your own way, that's fine, too. It's not required that you chat. Tracy Gale says, I'm here. And Ruthie just popped up, says, hit the like button, peeps. Thank you.
Yeah, if you like what you're seeing, give it a like. Why not?
We'd love if you did, but that's certainly one way to support the show, is just to be involved in liking and commenting. If you're watching it not live, if you're watching the replays, by all means, leave a comment. Just a word or two is all we need, but it sure helps a ton. Basically the way the algorithm works, as I understand it, the more audience participation and interaction, the better. So if you're in the chat, the chatting is great. If you're watching when it's not live, just hit the like and leave a comment. If you're not subscribed, get subscribed. That's another way to support what we're doing and help us to grow. And so there's lots of different ways to do it, but we love all of them. So, you know what, Sheldon?
Yes.
It is time.
It is time.
It's time to get to the Discord question of the week. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have a Discord channel. It's Paranormal Portal. I don't know if it's searchable by that name or not, but we're working on getting a custom URL for the Discord. It'll be coming as soon as I can make that happen. It's, everything costs something. And so everything we do has a price tag attached to it to some degree, whether it's time, sweat, and tears, or actually monetarily I have to purchase something, and in order to get that I actually got to purchase it. So it's something that's on the to-do list when it becomes possible. But we don't. If you want the link, Sheldon will put it in the chat, and you can join the Discord server and become part if you have Discord. If you don't have Discord, get it, create an account. It's really pretty easy once you just get used to it. But if you join our channel, there's a tutorial conversation on the left-hand side. It's Discord tutorials. There's videos that'll walk you through how to do everything on Discord that you need to do. And you can get involved in there too. So what we've been starting to do is the questions of the week. Didn't realize I had the volume jacked all the way up for that video. I'm like, ooh, that's a pretty loud growl. But here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get to the Discord question of the week now. And this is basically a newer thing we've been doing for the last several weeks, where we ask a question to our Discord community about paranormal stuff. And sometimes the questions come from you guys. Tonight's question does. It comes from our good friend Lily Pond. But when this happens, then everybody can weigh in and give their opinions on phenomena. Now, the one thing that I've always loved about the Paranormal Portal is this is an ongoing discussion about this stuff. There are no experts. Nobody knows for sure. So everybody's input is absolutely valid and helpful in trying to understand the nature of these phenomena, because nobody knows. Everybody's got an idea of some kind usually. So that's what these discussions are about. And it's a way to tie in our Discord community with the live shows and make that a part of what we do. So Sheldon, you got the Discord question?
Absolutely. Ready to go.
Do you? Okay. I'm just trying to get it ready to go here on the side.
Okay.
But go ahead, sir.
All right. So this question of the week is coming from Lily Pond. She says, I am very curious about shapeshifters. I think little dude, my little person friend here, might be a shapeshifter. Now, just for context, Lily Pond says little dude is a face/little person/question mark that lives my property. He's about 5 feet tall, looks Native American, extremely thin, large, Easter Island statue type eyes, not self-illuminating but extremely white. Wears a loincloth and moves so fast it's insane. Like you might see in a cartoon. So continuing. So are shapeshifters always evil? I just don't see them as evil. A brat, yes, but evil, no. It's just making me question everything I've heard about shapeshifters. Just because something can change forms, why would that deem them evil? I'd love to hear what our paranormal tribe has to say about the subject. Thanks. And our first comment coming in from Morganonymous. Oh yeah, that's laboring on little dude. And then Paradox Fossil says, from what I've come to realize, all spiritual beings are shapeshifters, including us in physical form. It can be subtle. But when we move on from this human experience and become spiritual beings outside of time and space, illusion, we can shape shift again. And I wouldn't be surprised if that is the case, actually.
Yep.
Let's see. Batman says, I honestly just don't believe anything living can truly shapeshift. Fun idea, but can't buy into it.
Sure.
And then Rugerudge says, I don't know. I always figured if something changes form, it's trying to deceive, make itself look like something it's not. Evil may be too strong of a word, but how are we to know if we can't see the true form? ZX81V2 says shapeshifting would be a good form of defense also. Oh, that's a good point as well. Hexer1 says only shapeshifting I've ever seen is aliens acting as humans.
Yeah, there are those
Rachel,
that believe that.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, there's those that believe that the aliens that are among us that don't look human are able to generate the illusion of being human. And some of them do allegedly look like us, like the Nordics and apparently the Pleiadians. But there are those that don't. And yet are alleged to live among us and look like us.
Interesting. Okay. Well, Rachel says for shapeshifters, I would think that an individual, whether human slash non human, would do so to use the abilities of the various animal forms. There are special senses that each animal has that are advantages. You could say the wisdom of the salamander being able to crawl beneath leaf litter to the hidden world of the forest floor has insight that a two-legged creature doesn't, as well as walk through the woods. A shapeshifted to an owl has night sense sighting advantages. Who knows what hidden knowledge becomes visible in these different forms? The shapeshifter could change these forms just because it can, and enjoys the wisdom of the senses each of the animals it shifts into has. To see the world from the sky as a bird, or the wonders of the world close to the ground. Oh, man, I actually like that response. It's a good way of thinking about it.
Yeah, I
Now,
think.
Deb, what is your thoughts on shapeshifters, and I guess
Well,
if are they more mischievous, good, bad, where?
the original question was, are they evil? And
Yeah,
first off, I would like to suggest that no, they're not. There's plenty of ancient traditions and historical traditions, shamanistic traditions that speak of shape shifting, and oftentimes we hear shapeshifter and we think of skinwalker, because that is certainly a version of shapeshifting that appears to embrace some kind of darkness or however that works. But apparently, legendarily, the ability to gain shapeshifting is pretty horrible. You have to commit a horrible act in order to get it in the Skinwalker stories. But there's other traditions of shamanism, even in the First Nations tribes, where certain shamans were able to transform into become something else. And I think that's very fascinating. There's certainly the little people are believed to be able to shapeshift in certain anecdotes and such. And so I don't think that, the idea that just because something may be possible automatically qualifies it as an act of evil or an evil creature. I think that that's probably not accurate. But think of it this way: if it is possible to shapeshift, and it's hard for me to get my head around that stuff too. I mean, how do you physically remanifest your body into something else entirely in moments? And it's a fantastical idea. What also occurs to me is, what if in some of these cases it's not actually shape shifting, but it's gaining control of other creatures and can view consciously what they're seeing and can control where they go. In other words, maybe the medicine man doesn't transform into the buck, but maybe he can control the buck and can drive it around like an RC vehicle and just see, its experience. Maybe he can control the wolf. Maybe he can control the bear or the owl or the bird or whatever, and can experience that firsthand by some form of telepathy or whatever. I don't know. It is hard to imagine something actually physically changing form. But then again, think about this, that in essence, all matter in its most elementary form is energy. And certainly energy can transform and change. So is it possible that the energy of matter can be changed to create a different appearance? And maybe it is. And certainly that's it seems incredibly far-fetched to our Western ideals, but is it possible? Is it possible? What isn't possible? Is the question I would have to ask. Is because I think everything is possible, but we may not understand the mechanics and methodologies that are required to make it happen. And I'm not
yeah,
talking technologically. I'm talking spirituality and maybe some understanding of esoteric ideas that we don't have, or transmuting. The alchemist's trade of old, transmuting, is not a whole lot different than transforming in just a different in a different manner. So I don't know. It's pretty impressive that so many cultures around the world have these stories of transforming people. It's not a new idea. It's a very, very ancient idea. And what is it based on? Is it just all magicians' tricks through time? Maybe some of it is, but is it all? People have apparently witnessed. I just interviewed Cheryl Lynn Carter a couple of weeks ago for the podcast, and she's a researcher on Skinwalker Ranch, and she talked to some of the security guards that had worked under Bigelow, and they said 2 of them or 3 of them were together and looking up on the mesa, and they saw a man standing there, and he turned to the side and suddenly transformed into a wolf and ran away. So they saw it. They allegedly swear that that's what they observed. But it's hard to make sense of that. But then again, we don't understand. Maybe shapeshifters are not of this world. Maybe they're really not from here. Maybe they are alien. But they live amongst us and with this ability to just adapt their physical form at will. So, I don't know. And even then, you think of like, what if it was a super advanced culture that has absolute mastery of nanotechnology that could shape and form around you? I mean, really, what's funny? What's going on?
No, I'm sorry. It was the unknown's comment. My ex changed forms. I would tell you from what to what, but it's a family show.
Yeah, I understand unknown. Rachel says what, Sheldon?
Rachel says the shapeshifters may have tapped into multiple realities where all shapes exist, like going into a library of bodies and selecting one and pulling it to the shapeshifter's reality.
That's a cool idea.
When you're talking about the possibilities. Yeah, absolutely.
That's a really cool idea. And so, again, we don't really expect that we're going to find the answer here, but we love to talk about the ideas and love to hear what you guys think about this stuff, because that's the beauty of the discourse we have here. You guys have, I would have never thought of that, Rachel. That's brilliant. And you guys always bring new ideas to the table. So, and Hacks are talking about the aliens. It's like, yeah, that's a possibility. They could be alien. Maybe these are aliens that have been among us for a long time, long time. And they can just change their form. It's just part of their technology or physiology. We don't understand. So,
yeah, there's a lot that science can take a look at in a sense, but we can't really quite comprehend, like even the distinction between 3D, 4D, and 5D, like as far as visualizing things in your environment.
Yeah, we just don't know. But, it's, again, like Nikola Tesla said, once the scientists change their focus to the non-physical, we'll make more progress in 1 decade than we've made in all of recorded history. And
I believe that.
I don't know what he's necessarily talking about for sure, but again, when you think of the possibilities that exist, they are endless. They are truly infinite. And so maybe some people have tapped into some abilities that most of us haven't. Maybe they were just born with the ability to change. It's hard to know. I don't know. But again, it's really a weird concept to wrap your head around, and it's hard to get an idea for it. But I will say that, even, and I've mentioned this before, that even channeling, people that channel spirits will oftentimes, their physical appearance changes pretty drastically. Like whatever the spirit coming in and manifesting that they allow to come through kind of takes over, and it's used to certain ways of expressing itself, certain ways to hold its face muscles and to make looks, and it changes very drastically. I've seen it happen once, and it was kind of creepy. It was kind of creepy. Now, this was somebody that didn't know she could do it, that it happened to, and I think it freaked her out just as much. But something was driving all of a sudden. It was like, whoa. Looked different expression in the eyes, different ways of moving the mouth. It was just profound. But, yeah, I don't know. Up to you guys what you think. Again, the show's never about convincing you that something is real, but no, I don't think shapeshifters are inherently evil. I think there may be evil shapeshifters, like the Skinwalker, but I don't think that it's just the ability alone makes it an evil thing. So, but thanks for the question.
Inherently evil.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Lily Pond. We appreciate it. And if any of you have questions you'd like to see asked, by all means, email me again. You can message either myself or Sheldon directly in the Discord if you're in there, but you can also email paranormalportalradio@gmail.com, and we'll pose the question and see what people have to say. So, yeah, there you go. So, anyway, folks, thank you to everybody that participated in that. We really appreciate it, and I hope you guys continue to be a part of the discussion in these, because the Discord question of the week. There you go, folks. Thank you for everybody that participated in that comments and offered your opinions. I do appreciate it. That's awesome. All right, so we got a lot more to get to. Right, Sheldon?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So let's start getting to it. Yeah, thank you, Sheldon, for posting that. The phone lines are also open. If anybody wants to call in, you can certainly do that. The number is 720-923-0500. If you look under my picture on your screen, the lower third that's down below my face will actually host the number in a few moments. Special thanks to Wes for those again. That's really cool. It's sometimes Wes is just like, it's like Christmas. He just delivers things. Hey, check this out. I made this. Like, oh, thanks, man. That's awesome.
He's the Santa of the show.
He is. He's the Santa Groomer. All right. So anyway, we got a lot more to get to. As promised, I told you guys we're going to get to some haunted hospital stuff. So are you ready for that, Sheldon?
I'm always ready.
Are you really? Good, because you're going to read tonight's article. Do you want me to send it to you? No, I'm just kidding.
You want?
Do what you want. No. It's okay. I don't mind talking. Unless I start coughing. Then you got to cover for me. But yeah. Yes, indeed. All right, so here we go. This is from the Occult Museum. Again, it's a great site to support what they're doing over there. Visit it. It's theoccultmuseum.com is where you can find it. And there's just a whole host of different articles and a lot of historical stuff there, too. A great resource for a lot of historical hauntings and haunted places, locations, and even odd articles like who sold their souls to the devil and stuff. I have an article like that pulled up, but I think we'll get to the 30 nurses share their most blood-curdling hospital ghost stories. Oof, gives me chills. How about you, Sheldon?
I'm ready.
It says, prepare yourself for haunted hospitals galore, ghostly apparitions, and even the occasional visit from the Grim Reaper himself. Oof. Could you imagine seeing the Grim Reaper? I'd be like, no, it's not my time. No. It's not my time. I'm not ready.
I'd have no choice at that point.
Are you sure? What if he just came by for, hey, how you doing? Just in the neighborhood, thought I'd check awesome.
In. I'd invite him in.
I used to like that on the Supernatural show. They would have the Grim Reaper himself show up, Death show up every once in a while. And he was he was this older guy, and he was really kind of a cool older guy. He was like just not bothered by anything, but you knew when he was pissed, like he was all kinds of pissed. It was like, oops.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you wouldn't want to piss Death off, I wouldn't think. If Death was a character, and oddly enough, I used to get people telling me I looked like the Angel of Death.
Nice.
Yeah, it's from a show. Was it Touched by an Angel? And the guy's name, the actor, was John Dye, and we really were like twins. He was like my doppelganger. I didn't
look him up.
Well, yeah, I don't think I look like him anymore, but at that time that show was big, I looked just like John Dye, and.
Oh, I could see it. I could see it with your younger pictures. I could see it.
Yeah, you'd have to look at my younger picture. Now I look more like road tar, but anyway, I look like bad stretch of road. But yeah, there was a time I looked just like him. So, 30 nurses share their most blood-curdling hospital ghost stories. Again, hospitals are hotspots. So this is just written by a cult museum that can't attribute it to any author, just to the site itself. But I think these are aggregated from Reddits as well. It's just very cool, but they do a good job compiling them over here. There's 31 real-life horror stories that'll chill you to the bone. Ooh, all right. Don't Let Them Take Me is the first one. The person says, this is the best I have heard of is a nurse who said that one night she was floating to oncology, that's the cancer ward, At the hospital she used to work at, she was given a patient who was passing away and had been unconscious for several days. At one point during the night, the nurse went into the room and the patient was on top of the bed and looked at her and said, "Don't let them take me." The nurse was freaked out and asked her who was going to take her. And she said that the black thing up there and pointed in the air. This patient died within minutes. Oh, that would be horrible. Could you imagine you're like on your deathbed and you look up and there's some black thing wants to take you? It's like, oh no, this is not the tunnel of light. What the hell is this?
Yeah, I'd be worried I was going in the wrong direction.
Right. Well, there's some of that coming up too, so just buckle in. Number 2, the empty room. I heard an interesting story a few weeks ago. Part of the hospital had been rebuilt and faces onto our unit. A nurse doing something near the window looks across and sees 2 people moving about in one of the clinic rooms. And it's after hours and the clinic is shut. She called a colleague over who also saw these 2 people. Well, they call security who go over and check the rooms and nobody's there. 2 people moving around, so they call security. And this time the security guys split up. One stands with the nurses while the other one went over to the clinic to check again. The scary part is this, is that the security guys were talking on the radio. The one in the clinic states that the room is empty, but the other security guard standing on our unit with the 2 nurses could actually see these 2 people standing right beside the security guard while he was talking. Wow. So you could see it from across the way, but not being in the room with them. But they could see the guard being in the room with these 2 other people. Yeah, that's a little creepy.
Oh, that's chilling.
That was by Marianne RN. The first one is by Chad. Okay. I forgot to get a tribute there. Number 3, the sound of children playing. My mother-in-law has been a CNA for 15-ish years, and like many new CNAs, one of her first jobs was at a nursing home for the elderly. Soon before patients at that nursing home passed, they would complain about the children outside being noisy in the dead of night. There were also patients that would comment on the children playing outside their window in the daytime when clearly there were no children to be seen. She has plenty of other weird stories, but that one is my favorite. And that one was by I Am Suki's Stackhouse. I don't know what that means, but yeah, I think that's a claim we've heard for a long time from nursing homes. People dying, they would either have children playing in the hallways and then soon die after, or children would come visit them in their rooms and then they would soon die. So it seems to be some kind of premonition of sorts. Maybe, I don't know. It's very strange.
For a guide.
Oh, well, I don't know. Maybe. Number 4, here you go, Sheldon, straight to hell.
Nice.
Okay, not my story, but something my sister witnessed when she was a med student at a level 1 trauma facility. Guy comes in from a motor vehicle accident, motorcycle versus truck. She said he is a Waffle House hash brown, sliced, diced, and chunked. The guy is able to talk at the beginning, drunk, cussing the nurses and docs trying to help him. Not a nice guy. They end up intubating the guy to preserve the airway, and the guy's going downhill fast. He codes, but they manage to bring him back. Suddenly, the guy comes completely to, rips out his tube, grabs his sister's hand, and lets out this breathy little scream. "Don't let me die! I'm going to hell! Please don't let me die!" Well, this freaks everyone out, including my sister. The guy says he woke up in hell on fire and keeps begging someone to check his feet for burns. Nobody could believe he pulled out his tube and was talking. Despite everything they did, the guy still died. My sister said they were all freaked out about it for weeks. That was nerd to nurse, ? Huh, that is creepy. So, is there a hell? Well, maybe. I don't know. I mean, my God, could you imagine? It's like I'm dying and that's where I'm going, and there's not a damn thing you could do about it. So,
yeah,
you better be good. Be good people. Don't want to be the guy burning in the hell. Number 5, the man sitting on the corner. Okay, this totally creeped me out. I worked at a small privately owned nursing home. A lot of the patients had been there a long time. Naturally, I was silly enough to take the night shift for 2 weeks right out of school to cover night nurse who was ill. This place had these old hallway lights that you had to stick on a paper clip in the slot on the wall to turn them on and off. Real safe, right? Well, there is one at each end of the main hallway. I carried the paper clip on a key ring, so there I am one night. One night. I come in at 11, take report, set up supplies, etc., and I shut out the lights. The only light is, so I don't know what that means, but so there I am one night. I come in at 11, take report, set up supplies. Oh, it's just a bad edit. I shut out the lights. The only light is from the lamp at my desk and the eerie red exit sign that casts this red wash over all the walls. Anyway, I'm standing at the med cart stocking med cups, and I feel a whoosh of air. It's winter and no windows are open. I hear a rustling sound and think it's the resident number 3 who is restless sometimes at night. His room is about 6 feet from the med carts. Now, being the brave nurse I am, I decide to check to make sure he's not trying to get out of bed. I go over to his room and find that he's sound asleep. I do a bed check and everyone is sound sleeping and accounted for. The CNA is in the TV room doing flow sheets, and I continue on with stocking. A little while later, I hear the noise again, and this time I see a figure out of my peripheral vision. They say spirits present themselves in your peripheral vision. Pass me into room number 3. This time, I'm not so brave. I take the CNA with me, who now thinks I'm nuts. We creep into the room and find the patient sitting up in bed having a conversation with someone who isn't in the room. When I asked him who he's talking to, he tells me the man who is sitting in the chair in the corner. Well, naturally, there's no one in the chair. The aide and I settle him down and leave the room. At report the next morning, I'm telling the nurse about what happened. Before I could say who the patient was talking to, she said, "The man sitting in the chair in the corner, right?" Creepy. Later, I talked to the usual night nurse who said it happened all the time when she was on. More than one patient had the same experience, and I never did get the name of the mysterious man in the corner, and in any case, that was the end of my night shift stint. That was by Nurse Set in 1981. Okay. So some spirit likes to come in and talk to people in the night.
Yeah, doesn't sound so bad.
No, I guess not. I mean, it's company, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what would you... apparently, these residents don't know that the guy's not there. They just think it's somebody visiting, I guess. But what would you ask?
Yeah, what would you ask?
I don't know. That's what I would wonder.
That's a good kind of question. If you had the chance to talk to a spirit, what would be like your top 3 questions?
I would ask about what they experience. How do they see things? I'd just wonder, what did they know what do they know that they didn't know when they were alive? What do they see when they look at the world around them? Are they stuck? Can they go anywhere they want? What does it feel like? Are you cold? Are you warm? Or you just don't feel anything? Or, I'd have a million questions.
Yeah.
Do you ever see other spirits? What do they look like? Do they all look like people, or do they look like different things? I mean, there's so many things I would ask if I had the opportunity.
Yeah.
I guess
not to. Yeah.
Right. I mean, because I believe there are spirits that aren't human. They were never human. So here we go with the Grim Reaper. You ready for this one? Are you ready, Sheldon?
I'm ready.
Okay. The Grim Reaper. Intensive care nurse here. I have many stories ranging from sheets being ripped apart to old women in rocking chairs, but the one that haunts me is the time I think I actually saw the Grim Reaper. It was 1999, late in the day. It was summer and turning dark in a busy 12-bedded ITU in London. I was in charge and at the nurse's station, and there were a few people milling around, but less than during the day. I looked up to see this man opening and coming through the double doors in the unit. What was so striking about him were his clothes. He looked like he'd been picked straight out of a 1974 and dropped in 1999. He was wearing brown cord flares, the platform shoes men wore, and then an orange, yellow, and brown check shirt with a cream and brown patterned tank top over the shirt. He was white with shortish brown hair, not quite 1970s, And about 30 years old, well, he walked calmly, like he did this all the time, towards the Bay of Patience. Not recognizing him and knowing he wasn't a relative of other healthcare person, I said, "Hello, can I help?" He looked at me directly, nodded as if to say hello, and carried on walking. I watched him, and he stopped at the end of a patient's bed, turned to look at them. He never touched the person or do anything other than look at them. This unwell but stable patient suddenly and unexpectedly deteriorated. As the staff went to assist, they all acted like they didn't see him. He turned around, and as calmly as he came, he left. I never saw what direction he went, as I left the nurse's station to go and help with the patient, who ultimately, despite our best efforts, died. I spoke to some of the staff later on about our 1970s visitor, and no one else saw him. 17 years later, it is so vivid in my mind. That was by Scary Carrie 91476.
Oh.
Well, Death needs to update his wardrobe first of all, because that look's not working anymore. I think I would have to start chuckling. Be like, what the hell are you? But no offense, Death, if you're listening. I have nothing but respect. But yeah, that's not the vision you'd expect to see. Some guy in a leisure suit coming in. Number 7, something evil. One night I was caring for a dying male patient. He was scared, and I spent quite some time with him, trying to calm him and reassure him. And eventually he calmed, and I left at the bedside and went over to the nurse's station, which is about 15 feet away. As I sat down, I glanced over to him, and there was a black shape standing over the bed looking down at the patient. I was terrified, and I'm sure it was something evil. That was by Marianne. Yeah.
Oh.
Something black.
You know, I wonder if hospitals can be like where evil or dark things can go. Because I mean, that's when we're at our most vulnerable state, is when we're in those beds. You know, going through a bunch of tests, whether it's an accident or whatever happened.
Yeah,
in a
maybe.
vulnerable state, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, of course. I definitely would. I think that's, it's weird, but you're right. You're right. I mean, it's what is going on in those situations? What are those things doing? Are they feeding off these people?
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean?
That's what I was kind of thinking. Like, is that where is that just the battery center for them? Like, what is it?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. All right. Number 8, the little girl with a ribbon in her hair. We had a black girl about 10 in the ICU that was severely injured in a car accident. Lots of brain damage. She didn't die but was moved to another facility after weeks and weeks. After that, I know of 3 older black males in their 50s that, if they were even mildly sedated, would ask about the little black girl and the ribbon in her hair who was sitting at the foot of their beds. One guy said she asked me how I was doing and then got up and walked that way, while he was pointing towards the second floor window. He paused, wide-eyed look came over his face, and he said, "But I guess she couldn't have left the room by that way, huh?" That was by Anonymous. Wow.
Oh.
So she was still there, lingering. Or
not quite passed on.
Or an apparition looking like her. But, I mean, again, is it really the same girl? Well, maybe not. But maybe something that looked like her. Number 9, the ghost hunt. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. What did you say?
No, I said good point.
Yeah. During the clinical at a nursing school over the last summer, we went to an older hospital that had been converted to a rehab unit after a hurricane. It is a 3-story facility, but only the top floor is used. The elevator would stop on the second floor every time, which was being used only for storage. Being inquisitive, I asked the staff and found out that supposedly the second floor is haunted by an old ghost doctor who worked and died in the unit. I just had to investigate. I grabbed a classmate upon stepping out into the vacant, darkened unit. A call bell was on. We walked in and turned it off. What we weren't told is that the second floor was the old OR floor, operating room floor. It was pretty creepy walking through the old surgical suites. Well, once we had made the entire trip around the unit, We came back to the nurse's station, which was adjacent to the elevator. As we rounded the corner to face the elevators, the doors to the elevator flew open and all the call bells went off as if to say, "Get out." Wow. That was by Sahara.
Intense.
Sahara 311. Wow. Yeah, that's a pretty good omen. It's time to leave. This one's Kitty Cat, number 10. I had a patient who was a CMO. I'm not sure what a CMO means. And quite obviously very close to dying. The week before, my best buddy cat Pippin had died, and I was pretty broken up about it still. That being said, I walked into her room and she said, "Oh, you brought your kitty with you." I blink at her and say, "What?" Mind you, this is the first time I'd had that patient, and I hadn't discussed my cat with her, having cats or even liking them. Her reply, "Your kitty, it's right by your foot." I get that frisson, that momentary shiver in my soul, and ask, just for kicks, "Yeah? What color's the kitty?" She says, "Black with some white." Pippin was a black tuxedo cat with white paws and a white bib, and the patient died that night. Wow, that was by Middle Earth Gardens. Wow.
There's actually a story about that too, where this cat that lives in a nursing home, I think, every time that cat goes into a room, that patient like dies like a week or a few days later.
Did we cover it? It sounds kind of familiar.
I think we did.
Yeah, it sounds kind of familiar. It was a ghost cat, though, wasn't it?
I thought it was real cat. Maybe it was ghost cat.
Yeah, I don't remember. I remember that rings a bell, but I don't remember the specifics anymore. And that's the thing about this. Reading thousands of stories, it's like, which ones? Is that like the one we talked about, or is it something else? I don't know. Some are hard to know, but 11 is Nurse Betty. I was working the NICU, and we had a threat of a tornado, and some nurses got pulled to go to a sister hospital in town to assist with the disaster plan. When all was over, one of the nurses returned with this story. She was assisting the nurses in giving some meds before pulling all into the hallways. Every patient she went to said they already had their meds from that nice nurse in the white uniform and hat. She realized she left that it had been a while since a nurse has worn a hat. That story revealed the urban legend of Nurse Betty. The story goes she had an affair with a married MD, became pregnant, then agreed to allow him to perform an abortion on her in the second-floor OR room. She died, and he went to jail. She never left the hospital and was seen frequently. The local newspaper would do an article on her every year around Halloween on her sightings. The hospital has since been replaced with college dorms. Wonder if any students have seen her. That was by Jadon. Yeah, that's a good question. Does she still roam the floors, even though it's now dorms? I guess it'd be a good place to get sick as a student, though, because Nurse Betty will come take care of you.
Hey,
But,
there we go.
but she's actually distributing meds. What is she giving those people? Are they the actual meds? Is she actually dragging a tray around? Probably not. But maybe it's a miracle med. You never know. Number 12, the room in the bell tower. Had always heard ghost stories, but never had my own until I had been nursing about 6 years. We had a bed tower. Oh, I thought it was a bed tower. Okay, in the hospital where I worked a night shift as a float nurse. It was a pretty quiet night, about 3 a.m., and the nurses were sitting at the desk charting when my patient lights went off. His room is right in front of the station, so I went in to check, and he wanted to know if everything was okay. And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Well, someone just came in here. I woke up, and someone was standing by my bed, and they went out but didn't say anything." I didn't want to upset him, but I knew no one had been in there, so I just said, "Maybe it was a CNA, or maybe you just dreamed it." But I secretly was a little freaked out. Then I was really freaked out when I went and told the others. They weren't surprised and said it happened all the time in that room, and that the call light frequently went off when the room was unused. No one was sure who the ghost was, but had been seen many times. Sure enough, not a while later, I was working that floor, and in the early morning hours, the light went off. Same story, different patient. Ooh, that was by Jenny 31. 031. Yikes. What do you think of that one, Sheldon?
Well, it sounds familiar to another story I think we read.
Well,
similarly, like when a unused room that
yeah.
the none of the cords were in, but they were still getting alerts to those rooms, that type of thing. So it's very familiar to that. Very interesting.
It is, yeah. I mean, and here's the thing. A lot of these stories are similar to each other. Now, could it be that this is just a common phenomena? Maybe. Could it be that these stories are being retold to different sites or re-recorded by different people to different sites? Yeah, and they change a little with each time. Or, I don't know. I mean, that's the hard part of this is we can only just bring you what we find. And
Yeah.
so some of them are repeats from other articles we've read. Some of them maybe just be, common tales that people just keep resubmitting. It's hard to know, but we can only take it at face value. Nothing that's been covered so far seems absolutely impossible. I mean, here's the thing with the Lake of Fire one. Like, the guy going to hell and burning and stuff, and I don't know.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that, oh, Jake, we got a lot of mods right now, brother. We probably don't need any more, but if we get an opening, you can be a mod. Okay. We'll look into that. You got to show up though. That's part of the job. But what was I going to say? Oh, it's about the hell one. I don't know. It's a hard concept for me personally to swallow. I'm just sharing you some of my personality, my spirituality. It seems that I believe that we are spawned or given life from this divine force, this divine love, and in the eyes of that love, we are these little bumbling toddlers. I mean, we're like these infants, and compared to the majesty that is this divine. And I think about it, it's like, as a parent, could you send your kid to an eternity in a lake of fire? It was just this little innocent child that was maybe screwing up, maybe doing things they weren't supposed to do. But could you really just, well, I'm done with you. You can go burn. I don't know. It's just hard for me to conceptualize. Now I know it's a part of many, many religions, and so I'm not saying that it can't be possible. It's hard for me to comprehend that this divine, immense, perfect love could just discard people that have made many mistakes. And granted, I mean, we're human and we do a lot of stupid things, and some people do some horrible, horrible things. And maybe that can happen. I don't know. It's just hard to imagine because we're just these idiots, in the grand universal scheme of things. I mean, people are wonderful and I love people, don't get me wrong. But
Yeah.
I just think of how little we understand, how little we know, how little we can comprehend in our life experience, and yet to be weighed for eternity based on, 70, 80 years of just trying to figure this out, So
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I think it makes more sense that for whatever reason during our life, when we pass, we just become lost, and maybe we forget to go toward the light, and we get trapped in our own kind of hell in a sense.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. I mean,
I
maybe
mean, it's a maybe, but
that's not it's not a bad plan. And forgive me for those of you that might find that an offensive take, but I'm just speaking honestly. It's hard to understand how this perfect divine love could be, able to just throw away people based on a blink in the universal scheme of things. A blink of time screwing up can equate to infinity in suffering. That to me is a hard pill to swallow.
yeah.
But I do believe that you're right. I think that we can certainly create an experience based upon the fact that we know we're not good, and maybe we weren't the best person we could be, and maybe we can create that where we do have to purge maybe before we can become clean and move into the divine light again. I don't know. But
Yeah.
again, it's up to you guys to have your own religion and belief, and I usually don't speak to mine personally, but that one is tough for me to understand. So I don't know. I could be absolutely wrong. I'm not someone you should emulate or take my words as gospel. I just don't know. But it's hard to understand. So
Rachel says, true innocence may not comprehend consequences for causing harm. So casting someone into hell may be an act of pure indifference.
Oh, it's hard to, it's hard to believe that that divine love could be indifferent, And
Yeah.
if that's the case, then I've got this whole concept of the divine all wrong, But I don't know. I don't think I do. I think I have a pretty good relationship, speaking in my flawed state. Of course, I'm not perfect in any measure, but anyway, it's up to you to form your own beliefs, and that's not my place to question them. Whatever you believe is perfect for you. And that's just where I've come. So it's hard to think that, just for this brief, minuscule nanosecond of universal time that our lives are, that we could screw up so bad that it's just irredeemable. We're just blind. We're fumbling in the dark most of the time, and making stupid decisions, of course. But is it worth an eternity of suffering? I don't know. Anyway, number 13 is the old nun. Like most very old hospitals, at one time our hospital was run by nuns. One particular unit had been converted into a sleep study lab, area for outpatients tests. I know we've read this one. One shift in the middle of the night, I was watching a video monitor and 5 patients simultaneously began removing their monitoring equipment. I went into the first room to ask what was going on, and the patient said that the old nurse with the cap told her the study was over and she could leave. All the patients reported the same story. That was by anonymous. Well, that old nurse didn't like all these people in their area, apparently. I don't like what you've done to the place. This is my place. Number 14, never opened the door. In the morgue at my hospital, I would always hear a knocking coming in from inside the freezer. Oh, God.
Oh, no.
It really creeped me out, especially when the pathologist looked up, grabbed me by the shoulder, stared me straight in the eye, and said, "You hear that? You never open that door when they're knocking. Never." It turned out to be some loose pipes. He thought it was hilarious. I didn't sleep that night. Oh, so it was just he knew it was loose pipes that are knocking around, and
Oh.
he just razzing the new guy or new person. That was by Eat Your Liver. Well, that's a weird name. Number 15, a call for help. Psychiatric RN here, absolutely. My first job was in a small 35-bed psych hospital in California. It used to be a medical facility where surgeries were performed and, of course, people died. When I'd work the night shift, I'd sometimes get a phone call from the local police station asking if everything was okay. Sure, everything was fine. All the patients were asleep and it was just a normal night. The police then said they received a 911 call from our hospital, and the extension from where the call was being made was the arts and crafts room. Nobody goes in there at night, not even the staff. It's always had a creepy vibe and used to be where the surgeries were performed. The caller, identifying herself as Satana, was asking for help. This would happen about once a month or so. Night shift didn't have much staff, so as supervisor, I knew where all my staff was because I would be the one to help relieve them during breaks. I know with 100% certainty that no staff or patients were the ones calling 911. I know it wasn't a patient because psych hospital doors are locked, and to get to that room, a patient would have to cross 3 barriers of passcode protected doors. That was by Sensical. Wow. So there's some person that lost their life in the OR and was calling for help. That's tragic. Ugh. And was still lingering there. Eesh.
Wow. Yeah.
How's that on the creepy meter?
I mean, kind of like what you kind of experienced recently, just the random call to 911.
Yeah, my phone. Yeah, my phone. I don't know, but nothing was talking for me. It was me trying to explain to the operator, no, there's no emergency. I don't know what the hell's going on. My phone just made a siren noise and it's calling you. I don't know what happened. And it was weird. It was very weird. And then to hear that someone else had experienced it the night before over in Tennessee and to be able to connect those dots is really weird. Really weird. You have to listen to the Confessionals podcast in a couple weeks. I don't know which one it'll be, but he said it'll probably air in a couple weeks. So that'll be about a week and a half from now, I suppose. But anyway, Number 16, getting ready. I think we'll read up to about 20 and then move on to another story. Getting ready. Over the course of my nursing career, I've experienced numerous patient deaths, and it's always seems there is some circumstances revolving around one that you always remember. Several months back, a terminally ill patient who had been suffering from leukemia for a number of years began declining in health rapidly. One night around supper time, he became very anxious and indicated that he had to get ready because they were coming to get him at 6 p.m. Several minutes later, when checking on his status again, he had passed away at nearly 6 p.m. on the dot. That was by Steve 40. Wow. So he knew. He knew when he was actually passing.
Wow.
Oof. That's pretty powerful, right?
Yeah, it is.
Jeez.
He could have been having a conversation with someone,
Right. I mean, that
100%.
was him saying, hey, make sure you're ready because we're coming tomorrow night at 6. Okay, I'll be ready. And, God, if somebody's terminal, what a beautiful thing. It's like, hey, you know what? I'm not going to be suffering pretty quick. I got to get ready because it's going to be time to go. That's amazing. Number 17. Yeah, it is. Number 17, the elevator. I was at the nurse's station when we heard the bell in the elevator ringing. Someone was yelling, help! And we heard pounding. We called security to tell them that someone was stuck in the elevator. I then walked over to the elevator doors and was shouting to the person to try to stay calm and help was on the way. She just kept yelling for help, banging and ringing the bell. Security called the nurse's station to say all of the elevators were working and that they didn't find anyone stuck. At this moment, whoever was in the elevator was suddenly quiet. A few times I've been in the elevator, and for no reason, it went to the 5th floor. The 5th floor is totally unoccupied, but used as a hospice, used to be a hospice unit. I'd be going up from the ground floor, and the only button lit would be 3, but the elevator would pass my floor, go to the 5th, open the door, no one there. I never was brave enough to step foot into the 5th floor. That's by Clovery. Clovery? Okay. Yeah, that's pretty creepy, the elevator. So someone hopped in and was getting a ride.
Yeah.
That's got to be it, right? Ugh.
Yeah.
How's that for creepy, Sheldon?
It's funny because she was looking out as if someone was out, but what if they were already in by that?
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
Did the temperature drop? Did you get those little shivers up your spine that someone was right next to you? I don't know.
That's the thing with some of these stories. I wish there was a little more. Well, maybe if there was that detail, they would have put it in. But some
Right.
stories, I always think I wish there was more detail.
Sure. Number 18, the coincidence. I had a patient one night who was mentally disabled. She was a young black woman with these huge eyes, and I don't know if she was always looked like that or if she was just genuinely spooked, but they were open wide. The first thing she said to me when I walked into the room was, "She's dead. That lady dead," nodding her head at the woman in the next bed. The woman in the next bed apparently had been dealing with this all day and was fed up. "I'm not dead," she yelled. I tried to calm her down, but to no avail. The day shift nurse told me that she'd been doing that all day. I felt so bad for her roommate, and I considered trying to transfer her, but that would just put someone else in the room to put up with. She did this all night. She would even pull her call light on to tell me her roommate was dead. So this was creepy on its own, but guess who died the next day? It wasn't an expected death either. I don't believe in the supernatural, but damn, that was quite a coincidence. That was by History Mystery. Wow.
What did she see to make that indicated?
I don't know.
Wonder.
Maybe, I don't know. Very strange. Number 19, death would always follow. I worked for a while in a residential hospice facility. Often before one of our residents would die, many of the staff nurses would see a little child, sometimes a boy, sometimes a girl, playing in the hallway. The timing was never consistent. Sometimes it'd be minutes before death. Sometimes it would be hours or days, but always the death would follow. Seeing the child never was really scary, except that you knew it was something freaky. The whole place has a peaceful feel, not scary usually. Often patients would speak about angels at their side. Once we had a nun as a patient, and when she died, we heard singing. We checked all the rooms for a choir on TV and found nothing to explain the sound. So that's beautiful, right?
That's a that's a good way to go, I think.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine what is that like to be greeted by a choir of angels singing? You know, like, oh, you made it, ah, la 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 la.
Wow.
That's powerful. Okay, we're gonna go to number 20, and then we'll stop here for this article. Number 20, the inspector. We have a gentleman that we call the inspector. He appears at the end of a long hall. Our wings are L-shaped, and he carries a clipboard on his hand. But when he shows up, a resident usually dies within the next couple days. We've also had residents ring and tell us that there was a man standing next to their roommate's bed and that they should tell him to leave, no men on nights. The roommate usually dies soon after, and then there's the children. Several lucid residents have reported children in the halls at night. There's a children's home behind us where children have been abused in the past. That's by LPN 1313. Wow.
Children's in hospitals. What is with that?
I don't know, but it seems to be like more of an omen than anything. Maybe it's just a symbol. Maybe it's just a symbol that manifests. You know, maybe it's not actually intelligent spirits. It's just, I don't know, some byproduct, some symbol of that. You know, like the ancients had all kinds of symbols that they would equate as you know, portents of something coming. So it's a very interesting thing. I don't know. Don't know what to think of that, folks, but there you have at least 20 of those. We'll pick up the rest of those on another night, maybe on Saturday night when you return, Sheldon. But
That sounds good.
yeah, on Friday night, folks, I think I'm going to have the Sasquatch Sisters Northwest on. Should be 3 of them anyway, but we'll talk more, 3 or 4 actually. One of them is our good friend Deanna, who's long been associated with the show, but she will be here. Cindy Goodbreak, and let me look up. There's a new member too. I want to make sure to remember, but the one is next one is Angelique Benham, and so she will be on with Cindy Goodbreak and our friend Deanna Montana. She goes by, and they have another newer member. And I'm not good with names, so I apologize that I'm missing this, but I'll make sure to introduce her correctly when they're on the show. But they should be on Friday. Let's see. We'll see if it works out. Let me just send another. Just send another message to that person. I'm actually messaging Angelique now.
Nice.
Yeah. So they're wonderful people. Cindy, of course, has been on the show several times. She's been a longtime friend of the show, and we love her dearly. She actually introduced me to a lot of people in the field that I hadn't known before. So Cindy knows everybody.
Nice.
Yeah, she's a spark plug too. She's just a force of nature. But I met Angelique as well, and I wish I think it's a T name, Tina or Terry, of the fourth one that I'm not remembering, but I'm so terrible with names. So I apologize for that. I'm just it's my personal dyslexia remembering people's names. I have that trouble with people I know. And you can imagine. It's like I know the people's names. I've known them for years, but all of a sudden I'll be like, "How you doing?" And I'm just stuck.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
Oh God. It's the worst.
What's my name? I'm just kidding.
Wolf boy.
No.
Arr! Gonna get you a flea dip later.
Oh God.
Yeah. So that should be coming up on Friday nights. I kind of gave them short notice, but I was just like, I meant to contact them days ago. So hopefully that'll work out for Friday nights. We should have those 3 on or 4 on as guests. And if not, they'll be making an appearance soon on the show, but we'll sort out the when, if not Friday. But tentatively speaking, pending confirmation, Friday night, the Sasquatch Sisters Northwest is going to be on. All right, so we're going to move to an article from Phantoms and Monsters. And this one's another one about a premonition, oddly enough, and I thought this would be a good forum to bring it up after those spiritual stories from the hospitals. And this is Phantoms and Monsters, of course, is Lon Strickler's site, ladies and gentlemen. Check it out. He's a prolific author of several published books. You can find the information on his site. He is the creator and host of Phantoms and Monsters radio podcast. And he is also the force behind phantomsandmonsters.com, which is where this story comes from. And it's from Tuesday, October 4th, so it's been up on my computer for a long time, but I think it'll fit in good right now. And this is, Don't Go, You'll Die. Premonition possibly saved Philadelphia woman's life. I thought, oh, that's cool. You know, I like the idea of premonitions because I think that they're very powerful. I think many people have experienced having a premonition. I think it's probably a very significant part of our makeup when we listen. When we're open enough to receive them, they can save your life. They can keep you from harm. They can keep you out of bad situations. They can just make your life easier if you just, listen to your guts or your gut and follow that. But this is a Philadelphia woman is walking to a mall in an area of the city where she wasn't familiar. A homeless calls out her name and warns her not to go there. Later that day, several people were gunned down at that mall. The following account was forwarded to me, says Lon. This is a bizarre incident that occurred several years ago. My ex-wife was walking down the street and a homeless man called her by name. No big deal. Maybe you heard someone call her that one day, but she never saw him before or since. The strange part is that he then said, "Don't go. You'll die. The mall." Now those words chilled her to the bone, so much so that she turned around and went home. She had been putting on weight and wanted to be healthier, so she was walking there 3 miles in the opposite direction to get food, avoiding her favorite Philly cheesesteak stand. Yeah, we lived in Philadelphia, and she decided against food altogether that day and was going to walking 5 miles further to see if she could see a new part of town. As she had only been in Philly for a year, but she'd never walked in the direction of the park. This was completely away from anywhere that she had ever been, or anyone she could have possibly known. Then this homeless man just pops out. Despite being miles in the wrong direction around a place she had never been in a city new to her, a man calls her by name and says she will die if she goes to the place she planned to go, let alone that no one knew about where she was going, not even her, until that morning when she got up. So she goes home. Later that day on the news, people were gunned down at that mall she was thinking of going to. Lon says, note, I tried to find out the date of the shooting because, quite frankly, there have been numerous shootings in Philadelphia area malls over the years. I do know that this incident occurred at least 4 years ago, but that's the extent of any information. Anyway, is it possible the homeless man may have been the woman's guardian angel? Yeah, that's a good take.
Wow.
I think that's very powerful. But, you got to wonder. So, speaking of my philosophies, I think we all are going to have to make that journey to the next life. I mean, it's just part of the fact of being incarnate in this world. And of course, we all go in different ways. Some people just die very peacefully in their beds after old age. Some people die in horrific accidents. Some people die in tragedies, and some people die of disease or something of that nature, and so on and so forth. And not all of those are peaceful, obviously. Some of those are horrible. And, it makes you wonder. So I know that one way or another, we got to make our exit from this world. But it would be nice if it didn't have to be ugly like that, And so this angel, whatever, this divine intervention stopped this woman from going to the mall, because if she had gone, she was going to be on the body count. And it wasn't obviously her time. So something interceded, but it's hard to imagine that it was everyone else's time, It's hard to conceptualize that, because why did they have to go that way? Why couldn't it, just, and not like any way is necessarily preferable to another. Maybe that's a quick way to go. Maybe it's pretty painless. I don't know. But it's just one of those things that it makes you wonder, why doesn't everybody get those messages? Why this person did, and the people that did succumb to the shooting at the mall, they didn't. And that's the hard part to wrap your head around. Why did that happen? And I
Yeah,
don't pretend to know. What do you think,
I mean,
Sheldon?
I guess it's kind of reassuring for her because if you got that premonition, that means there's still plans for you left,
Yeah, well,
things you
there's
have to
that
do.
for
But yeah,
sure.
like you said, why didn't these other people get plans made? I mean,
Yeah,
the
and
only thing I can think of is maybe it's a part of the lesson. I don't know.
well, certainly. I mean, we can all draw lessons from those tragedies, and even the most obvious one of them is, enjoy your life because you don't know when your last moment is. The more painful ones is that people do horrible things, and it's hard to fathom how a person could get so broken that that becomes an idea. But and that's the extreme tragedy of it. It's just a whole lot of things going on there, and the mechanics of which we're just not capable of understanding, I'm sure. But it does make you wonder. Some people get these real divine interventions. Boom, stop, save yourself. You're gonna have problems if you continue. And sure enough, this person's life was saved just by changing course from that warning. I'm glad she listened. I think that's wonderful. That would be
Well,
absolutely tragic if she didn't. But then we wouldn't have the story because if she didn't listen and went anyway, then she wouldn't have been able to tell it. So,
I mean, hey, if you didn't listen to your premonition, who knows if you'd even be here today?
yeah, well, there's that. Again, I think we get them. I think we have the capacity to get them. Maybe all the other people were trying to, they did try to give them those same interventions. Maybe they didn't pay attention. Maybe they just didn't hear. Maybe they were just too busy and they didn't notice the signs that were given to them. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
Again, I know that the world has new people coming into it all the time and it has other people leaving it all the time, and it's just the cycle of life. But it's just so tragic the way some people transition out, and it's a heartbreaker because you don't want to think that their last moments were so desperate and painful. you know that's just a horrible way to go. But again, I don't pretend to know. So just
Rachel
some
says,
thoughts.
I've known people who have died in a small plane accident, murder, sudden health defect, age, and illness. Who can say what will await each of us?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's hard to know. I was standing in my driveway back in Minnesota one day and I heard this sound, like just like that. I was like, what the hell was that? I look in the driveway about 10 feet away from me and there's a bullet sitting on the ground. And it obviously was a free fall. Like somewhere, somebody somewhere discharged it around into the air is what I think. And it wasn't like it was a 9mm round. I still have it somewhere around here, but I heard it hit and it was like, I can't even clap loud enough. It's like, like that. And it hit the ground, but it didn't deform the round. But I don't know if that's enough to kill me, but it was close enough. And I thought, my God, a bullet just landed next to me. It was right in the driveway of Grandma's house where we used to live, after her passing. But it was, I think you were at school and I was just, I don't know, coming back from mom's or something. And I was standing in the driveway, maybe working on the sailboat or something. But it's just like I heard that slap and I looked down and there it was sitting in a mud puddle right next to me. A little puddle on the blacktop. Not a mud puddle, but a puddle on the blacktop. I was like, wow, that was a bullet. Where'd that come from? So was it a premonition? No. Was it an intervention of any kind? No, but it was freaking weird. I've never had a bullet land
Yeah.
near me before. That was a little disheartening. I was always going to get a necklace made out of it or something. But
Oh.
maybe, then it's one of those stories. Apparently there's a weird story going around, ladies and gentlemen. It's supposed to be true. So what happened was apparently I think it was the 1940s or 50s, this couple was together, and basically what happened was the husband came home and caught the man's wife, his wife, being unfaithful with someone else. So he grabbed his gun and he went, I guess he was gonna shoot the guy, unfortunately, which is, of course, that's tragic all by itself, and forgive the graphic nature of the story, but I find it very interesting. And so he apparently shot at the guy, but it missed him and lodged it into a tree. Well, sometime later, the husband passed away, and it was like, and this guy that was with his wife, and the wife ended up marrying, and so they were they were trying. Basically, it lodged into the bottom of this tree, which eventually died. And so the guy was married to the man's wife now, and that was his home. And there was this stump from this tree out in the yard, and he was so frustrated trying to break it out and dig it out that apparently he took explosives and lodged it into the stump,
That's right.
lit the fuse, got away. The stump exploded, and that very bullet hit that man in the head and killed him. 20 years later.
I've heard that story somewhere else too. I think it is legitimate.
Wow. That is really creepy. But
Yeah.
it's just like, was that just meant to be? Was that just the way he was going to leave that world? No matter what, 20 years later, it ends up taking him out. That's creepy stuff.
Or the vengeful spirit of the husband made sure.
Yeah, well,
It
there's that. Yeah, there's that. I mean, maybe he was sitting around, I'm going to get you with that bullet. I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you. And then it's like, yeah, use the dynamite. That's a good idea.
Yeah, exactly.
So there you have it. Wow. Yeah. Nick says delayed karma.
Yeah.
Yep. Destiny. Wonder Woman says freaking scary, Brent. Yeah. Thank you, Ruth.
Death from the grave.
Yeah. It was like that vengeance was going to be fulfilled, but it was just such a long time later. So I don't know. Just some things are meant to be. But anyway, I don't know. It's interesting stuff. But we are currently at the end of the run for tonight. So I hope all of you guys have enjoyed the journey and had a good time here with us tonight. If you're not subscribed already, please get subscribed. We'd love to have you become part of the family and ring the bell so you get notifications. What we usually do is live shows Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday night at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. So if you're wondering when's the next live show, it's either Wednesday, Friday, or Saturday at 7 p.m. Pacific or 10 p.m. Eastern for 2 hours. All 3 shows are 2 hours. And please check out our podcast. The podcast, latest episode is doing great. It's called A Haunting in Michigan, and it's actually the story of my cousin's incredibly profound experiences dealing with some of the most powerful haunting stuff I've ever heard in my life. I know this man. I've known him my whole life. And I know that every one of these incidents happened because not only do I trust him with my life, but I know because he called me every day while this was going on, just beside himself. This is not a person that scares. He's not a person, he's career law enforcement, and he was terrified. And if you listen to the episode, you'll understand why. Every one of those events is 100% not fabricated, not embellished, not exaggerated. It is exactly what happened. And it still remains one of the most profoundly powerful hauntings I've ever heard in my life. Now, I would put my reputation on the line to say I know this is real because, again, I spoke with him every day. And as he deteriorated over the period of this time that this went on. Sheldon, you just listened to it. What did you think?
I listened to it last night, and I have to say that it is a very chilling episode, and it's definitely not one to pass up.
No, I hope you guys listen to it because it's phenomenally powerful, but also phenomenally horrifying. It was intense. So check it out. It's available on all the platforms: Pandora, Spotify, iHeart, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Castbox, and a gajillion more. In fact, last count, I think we're on like 140 or more platforms of podcast apps. So if you listen to podcasts, it's audio only. You won't hear it here on he was on the YouTube channel years ago, but I can't find the old episode anymore. There's too many of them. I can't find it. I didn't do a good job with my titles. So I kind of screwed myself in my own cataloging, my own archives, because they're all just bizarre names I came up with. And so that's kind of become my detriment. But anyway, listen to the podcast. Love to have you follow it. Thank you, Nicholas Smith. Great show, guys. As always, stay safe, everyone. I hope you all have a wonderful night. Thank you, Nicholas. Appreciate it. And thank you to all of you who came in to be a part of it. Is that the Discord link? Oh, that's the new webpage.
No, that is the website.
Yeah, check out the new webpage, please, and bookmark it, because that's links to everything, all the social media, all of our podcast. It links to the YouTube channel here. So paranormalportal.net is our new homepage for the Paranormal Portal. Of course, get subscribed and follow us on YouTube here. Get us and on Facebook, facebook.com/Paranormal Portal Radio, or follow me, Brent Thomas, on Facebook if you choose. I got a TikTok. It's linked on the paranormalportal.net. We got an Instagram. It's linked on paranormalportal.net. So everything that's kind of the hub for the Paranormal Portal. So check it out. Yeah. But that's going to wrap it up for us tonight. Thank you, Sheldon, for being here.
Of course.
I appreciate it.
You'll all have to find out what I am next time.
Yeah. And Don extends his apologies. He just, his schedule changed at work tonight, so he wasn't able to make it, but he will be coming back next week, I'm sure. So, yeah, we missed him tonight. Hope you're doing good, brother, out there if you're listening. And to all of you, thank you so much. To our mods, thank you so much for the amazing work you do. I appreciate it. It's an honor to have you guys here and to help represent the show and to keep things running smooth. And just know that we love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other, help each other out. Find the magic in every day and remember to laugh. And yeah, we'll see you on Friday night. Hopefully we'll have the Sasquatch Sisters Northwest here. But if not, it'll be me and a whole bunch of stories and information to share with you. So either way, we'll have a show, 7 p.m., 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube. So Friday night. Take care, everybody. Have a great night. Love you. Sheldon, anything in closing?
Well, keep an eye on the Discord, because we're going to have another question of the week for Friday's show up, and then you can participate.
No, not if we have guests.
Not if we have guests. Yeah. So look for that for the Saturday show instead.
Yeah, we'll put it up for the Saturday show. I'll wait. If they can't make it on Friday, then I'll post a question for Friday. But either Friday or Saturday or both, there will be a question of the week in Discord. So definitely get involved in Discord. Jake, have a good night, brother. Good to see you. Did you say something? Whoa, Sheldon. He says, whoa, Sheldon. I want to be a mod.
I was doing a thing with the animation.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. All right, guys. Have a good night. Love you. And we'll see you next time here on the Paranormal Portal. Good night, everybody.
Good night.